So what is a disc bulge versus a disc herniation? I know that a lot of people out there that have low back pain, with or without leg pain, they oftentimes have to go and have an MRI done, right? So when you guys have your MRI, what comes back is that your doctors oftentimes will tell you, well, you have a disc bulge or you have a disc herniation. Now, a lot of people think that there's a huge difference with regard to pain between the two, but a lot of my patients, we have seen some patients that have disc bulges that have a lot of pain, while other patients that have disc herniation, they have very minimal pain. So you can't really always go by the severity of that to determine how much pain the individual person is in. Pain is so subjective. Sometimes it's really hard for us to determine with regard to if the patient has a herniation, which is a more severe condition than a regular disc bulge. So I'm gonna walk you guys through so you guys can better understand what really is the difference between a disc herniation and a disc bulge. Now we have a little diagram here that I draw with regard to just going through the anatomy of a disc. Now, typically you have two portions of the disc that we're gonna be walking you guys through. The inside here is called the nucleus, okay? And the outside is called the Annulus Fibrosus, okay? Now, a better way of really looking at that is that, think about it as that your nucleus is like a gel-like substance, okay? So it's like the gel-like substance as in the donut, right? The jelly portion of it. Now the outside of the donut is more, again, fibrous-y, right? In this case, it is not just like a donut, it's like a tire of your car. It's very fibrous-y and very hard. It's actually our ligamentous, so it's designed to handle a lot of force, handle a lot of stress, without letting the nucleus be coming out or herniating through the fibrous itself when you have disc pressure, okay? Such as when you're bending over and picking something heavy or just doing repetitive things to irritate or compress your discs. So what happens is, so we're gonna walk you through. On the disc bulge, what happens is on the disc bulge itself, you have the nucleus itself here, literally comes out and gets more pressure, and it literally has a little more indentation point coming out of it, and you might have a little more rise on the disc pressure itself here. I'm sorry, on the annulus or the outside portion of your disc. So that's typically what we talk about with regard to a disc bulge itself, where the nucleus has not come out of the discs itself or not come out of the annulus, but it literally pushes the outside of the disc and make it a little bigger, okay? So that is called a disc bulge. Now a disc herniation is literally herniating itself, which means that the nucleus itself here has now being pressure, and it actually breaks through and comes out of the surrounding annulus or the surrounding disc material here. So that nucleus is now coming out, okay? So on a symptomatic level, we just discussed, not all patients have disc herniation have a lot of pain, okay? Not all patients have disc bulges have very minimal pain. The key with this is how much inflammation you have at that particular stage. You can have someone who have the disc bulges who oftentimes have a lot of inflammation, right? And they might they might be in a lot of pain. While someone who have a disc herniation that has very minimal inflammation in that area, and they might only have a pain level from 0 to 10 with regard to being only about a 2. Okay, so the inflammation does make a lot of difference. Now, with regard to on a long-term process, how does this come into play with regard to how can you recover from a bad back, right? Your ligaments, which are your disc here, when it's torn, believe it or not, with regard to the disc being torn here, where the annulus itself, the fibers here are being torn to let the disc out. When that's torn, it is actually a permanent state, which means that it will not heal back and reabsorb. Now, we do see some cases where that does happen through pre and post MRI, but I'm telling you guys, those are very, very rare. Out of thousands of cases that we have fixed over the years, we might only have 4 or 5 cases that spontaneously the disc itself actually gets reabsorbed. We have no clue why, but it just does it, you know? It's not that we adjust anybody any differently or that we put them through any therapy any differently. Sometimes your body just reabsorbs that herniations and becomes, and it literally disappear from the pre-MRI to the post-MRI that we have done on people. So again, on the severity level wise, if we were to give you a gauge on how severe a disc bulge is, a disc bulge would be from 0 to 10 on a mechanical destruction of the disc itself. I oftentimes would tell a patient is around a 2 or a 3, okay? Now, a disc herniation would be totally different. Even if you don't have a lot of pain, the herniation itself automatically puts you up at a level of severity of maybe a 4 or 5, or sometimes a 6 level, okay? Depends how big it is. Because you can have a disc herniation that is a small one, a medium one, or a large one. So you can range from anywhere from a 4 to 5 or 6 level. So hopefully this kind of brings some light into anybody that might have questions. I've been diagnosed with a disc bulge, and someone out there might be diagnosed with a disc herniation, and you guys are concerned about how much pain that you have. So it's always good to know where you stand at on a level of from 0 to 10 of how severe the disc itself is. Right? So thanks for joining us. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. If you like our channel, please subscribe. Thank you.